Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'll give people some time to file in here, and meanwhile, I'll probably just play some of my previous content on this topic while we're waiting for more people to show up. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in today. I decided to do a stream about this because some new stuff has come out about it. I guess there's like 80 pages more of Audrey Hale's journal have been reviewed, and figure I would cover it, at least talk about it with you guys for a bit. It has been a little while since I've done just an impromptu stream. Thanks again for tuning in, and please do me a favor and share the stream anywhere that you think you can find people who'd be interested. So, in any case, like I said, I'm going to go back and while I'm waiting for more people to show up, I'm going to play some of my other stuff on this topic, and then we will get into it. I don't have my meme video anymore because they took it down. They were very mean to my meme video, that is. And let's do it. So let me see what's going on here. Sorry about that. Do-de-do-de-do. All right. So how's everybody been? At least when people start filing into the chat, I guess you can answer me there. But you're listening to V Radio. Today on V Radio, we will be talking about Audrey Hale, the trans shooter in Nashville who went into a Christian school and murdered 3 children and 3 adults. Not exactly a model citizen. And the media and the police and all that did a lot to try to cover this up. And as a lot of people have said, it's interesting how selective the circumstances are. Yeah, they didn't want to in any way reveal the manifesto of this person. In fact, they went way out of their way to try to hold it up. So, hello, Lady Katie and Darla. What's up? So I'm going to play while I'm waiting for more people to show up. I'm going to play some of my clips that that I've already done on this topic, and then as more people file in, then I will come back and we'll start talking about the new stuff. So thanks for joining us today. Let me see if I can pull this up. Okay. All right, here we go.
So there's been a lot of talk about words that incite violence, or even words that are violence. There's an awful lot of discussion about this, specifically, usually in favor of censorship. And I've been told that it's violence and inciting violence to even, I don't know, bring up that there are, in fact, scientific points to be made about whether or not trans athletes should compete in sports, stuff like that. That's been violence or inciting violence. And daring to discuss anything negative about trans people is encouraging violence against them, even if you haven't said anything about actually doing any violence. I've also heard that supposedly the right wing in general is speaking to incite violence. So with that in mind, and in the wake of the recent shooting perpetuated by a trans person, let's have a listen to this trans person.
If you back a wild animal into a corner, they're going to become a dangerous animal. So if you want to die on that hill of yours of righteousness and moral majority, then you go right ahead. I dare you to try and stop me from going into a women's bathroom. It will be the last mistake you ever make.
So if you do not allow this trans woman to go to the bathroom of biological women, they will kill you. That's what that means. It will be the last mistake you ever make. Let's continue.
I dare you to try and stop a transgender woman in my presence from using the bathroom. It will be the last mistake you ever make.
If we are in their presence, this person's presence, and we do not allow another trans woman to use the biological women's bathroom, then they're going to kill us.
This is a call to action and a call to arms to everybody within the United States that are scared, worried, have children that are transgender, lesbian, bi, or gay. This is a call to action. You need to arm up. Plain and simple. Go out, buy a gun, learn how to use it efficiently, through and through, because the time to act is now.
And the action apparently will be that if they try to deny you access to the women's bathroom as a trans woman, then you should kill them. If you see them doing this for someone else, you should kill them.
You need to protect yourself, and you need to protect your fellow transgender brothers and sisters and theys and thems. You need to protect the rest of us in the LGBT community, as I'm going to do myself. Because there are lots of people like me who are not afraid to die. I love my girlfriends to death, but I would rather die for them to secure their safety, freedom, and future than to live and not have anything done. So you go ahead. You protect your kids.
So let's recap. This individual stated that if you try to prevent them from using the biological women's bathroom, they will kill you. If in their presence you try to prevent another trans woman from using the biological women's bathroom, they will kill you. This sort of thing is absolutely just directly calling for violence. And what do they say? Buy a gun. It's time to buy guns and to protect people. Because that's the other funny thing about this. They're not talking about arming up and defending themselves in the event that someone tries to do violence to them. Just the act of trying to prevent them from being allowed to use the bathroom is enough for them to shoot you. So I don't really think this message is going to help the trans community very much. And I would dare to say that this sort of rhetoric is definitely going to encourage more violence to trans people.
So I made that video actually because that actually came out shortly after the Audrey Hale shooting. And I think that it's important to note that one of the things that people keep saying is that there is a dangerous ideology on the right that leads to violence or thoughts of violence. That's how they always say it. But whenever somebody from the alt left does something like this, then it's not an ideology, it's mental illness. Like after the Buffalo shooting, they stated, like Rolling Stone put out an article that said that they weren't like some lone crazy person, they were just a mainstream Republican. As if it's the belief of mainstream Republicans to go into a supermarket and shoot up people, it's once again one of the things that led to me having to take a break for a while was just that it's almost kind of blackpilling how ridiculous it is to deal with this issue that people are just now out of their minds. Like these people are just crazy. Like it all comes back to that thing that Yuri Bezmenov said when he said that once a society has been ideologically subverted, real information no longer matters to them. And that's basically what it is. Like it's become to the point where arguing facts about something is so secondary. Like they're just not interested in facts anymore. Nobody's interested in facts. They're interested in, their opinion being heard louder than other opinions. I've been watching because like I used to be a fan of the show Breaking Points, and Crystal and Sagar just got into a debate about the Israel-Palestine thing. And she just shouts over him the whole time, like that's generally what they do is they filibuster, and they don't really want to discuss anything resembling rational. Right. So as Arby says here in the chat, the same information I discussed with you on stream a while back, when I've talked to people about it in real life, you say they don't care about the facts. They just want to yell and hate. Right. It's like there is something that they really want to be true. They feel so hard that they want it to be true. And so therefore, they're gonna yell until you either just until you're quiet about it. Like that's really it. They have an emotional attachment to whatever version of reality. That's this whole thing of being entitled to your truth that comes out of postmodernism. And it's one of the other reasons why, like, as I used to be part of the, the Zeitgeist movement and the Venus Project stuff that came out after the Zeitgeist Adenum film. And I warned them that, like, in order for such a society that they propose to exist, like rational, logical, critical, scientific thinking is not an option. It's not, like, it's something you absolutely have to have. And the idea that feelings have become more important than that is just incredibly dangerous to society as a whole. And as George Orwell pointed out in his writings, when you see someone, some entity or something trying to do away with the idea of objective truth, then that is generally proof positive that somebody is trying to take some kind of authoritarian control, because you don't want the truth to be the issue. You want obedience to the narrative to be the issue. So anyway, with that said, there had been some pages that had already been revealed. I mean, I've got enough people now that I don't need to worry about that. I got 11 on Twitter and 29 on YouTube, so we can go ahead and get into that. But I did another video on that part. I just went over the journal from before, like the 3 pages that were out. The pretty obviously pictures were taken by a cop, like it was in a cop car. People got prosecuted and stuff. But overall, the media has been doing everything they can to try to hide this. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing a stream on it. I have no idea. Like, I imagine this will get demonetized. I've been told, like, actually somebody said in the chat that YouTube's been going on a censor frenzy, and that doesn't surprise me with the election coming up. That would be the case. In fact, I think it's probably going to get worse before it gets better in that regard. I've been talking to a lot of other creators about this, and a lot of us feel that we almost wish that Elon Musk had purchased YouTube instead of Twitter. Although the funny thing is, I've noticed that I get, like, during my recent stream with Kyle Rittenhouse's family and Johnny Walker Dread, I got more viewers on Twitter X than I did on YouTube, which was interesting. He must be doing something to the algorithm over there, but I threw hashtags on this and, put pride in the hashtags and all that. So with Pride Month going on, hopefully that draws some attention. And let's go ahead and have a look here. I'm going to pull up. The Tennessee Star did a lot of articles about this because they're still reporting on it, and it was all news to me. Like, I didn't know that any of these details had come out. But we'll also go over one from the Tennessean just to kind of get some ideas about who this person was and what their attitude was. So I was going to read these anyway, so I figured, well, hey, why not just jump on a stream and read them with you guys? So here we are. Let's see. Yeah, I agree, RB. The only thing that I wish that Twitter had was there should be a chat function. Because especially for streaming, like, I've noticed that you guys frequently join these streams just to participate in the chat room, and so that you can chat about topics that you hopefully, are interested in. Although I've noticed that, wow, 35 on YouTube, it's going up pretty quick. I've noticed that there are different kinds of YouTube viewers. There are people who come to watch short form content, which is actually becoming more and more rare. But there are also people who just come to streams because they like to go to chat rooms, and frequently they're not even actually talking about the thing that the stream is about. They'll just get into the chat room and argue with people. So, but anyway, let's have a look here. Hey, Bryson, what's up? Yep. All right, cool. All right, so let me go ahead and I think we'll blow this up if it'll let me. Okay, I guess it is already maximized. I'm a little out of sync here. Okay, there we go. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and have a look. This was one of the ones, and this one's a little older, but I wanted to go ahead and go over it because I hadn't heard about this yet. But it says Nashville school shooter was obsessive about middle school basketball team. So, as some of you guys know, I am a sports coach. I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the chat overlay for a moment. Yeah, I would like to actually do an in-depth deep dive on those 80 pages. Unfortunately, I don't have all of them. If anybody can help me find them, I'd be happy to go over the whole thing. I'll make a documentary kind of thing about it, one of my old school long form videos. So anyway, let's go ahead and have a look at this. This one was published a while ago, but apparently, it says moments before Audrey Hale entered the Covenant School in Nashville and killed 6 people, including 3 children, the former Covenant student sent Instagram messages to a former middle school basketball teammate. I'm planning to die today, Hale wrote to Averiana Patton, a fellow member of the 2008-2009 Isaiah T. Crestwell Middle School girls basketball team. You'll probably hear about me on the news after I die. Hale, who police said was transgender and recently began using male pronouns, seemed to cherish the time playing middle school basketball at Nashville Arts Magnet School. A shy girl at the time, Hale's more athletic teammates said they embraced Hale and tried to make her feel like a part of their Hardwood family. Hale is now the 3rd member of that team to die in the past 8 months. Interesting. All were younger than 30 years old. Hale never seemed to forget the kindness extended by those teammates, but Hale's focus on the team and former teammates resulted in awkward, strange interactions with those teammates in recent years. One teammate described Hale's preoccupation with her and the team as obsessive and stalkerish. 2 of Hale's former teammates were recently killed in car accidents. Sydney Sims was 27 when she died from injuries suffered in a 2-car crash in Nashville in August. Marquis Lachelle Hamilton was 29 when she died at the scene of the crash on I-65 in Nashville in February. Audrey Hale left a manifesto. Hale became the 3rd member of that team to die in the past year. Police shot Hale after the Nassau College of Art graduate shot 6 people, including students Evelyn Dykos, 9, Haley Scruggs, 9, and William Kinney, 9, as well as head of school Catherine Kuntz, 60, substitute teacher Cynthia Peak, 61, and custodian Mike Hill, 61. Hale left behind a manifesto to study the school and its entrance point. The police, Hale was getting the treatment for an unspecified emotional disorder, said Metro Police Chief John Drake. The shooter's parents thought Hale had recently sold his only gun, but Hale had in fact legally purchased 7 firearms from 5 different local gun shops. One of the things that keeps coming up during these mass shootings that is always a little weird to me is that somehow these people who frequently are not that wealthy manage to get their money, get a bunch of money together to purchase firearms, like in a large quantity of them, like the Buffalo shooter, I'm going to forget, Uvalde shooter, like they all just suddenly had this money to buy all these firearms. I bought myself some recently and it wasn't cheap. So makes you wonder where they just suddenly get these bursts of money, but anyway, so a lot of this stuff we already know, but basically Hale played middle school girls basketball as a shy, small kid at a school where everyone made the team. Former head coach said, in Hale's 8th grade year, the team was an immensely talented group that made it to the Final Four of the state tournament despite representing a magnet school for the arts. Some teammates remembered Hale as being a player, gave maximum effort, but began to remember a bench warmer. She would have played if she were really winning or really, she would have played if we were really winning or really losing, Buchanan said. Who called the police after receiving final messages from Hale. Audrey was super timid when we first met her. The year ahead of Hale in school, we had a real camaraderie. As far as on the court, we were like a family. Mia Phillips was 28 when Hale was in the same. We felt she was shy. We embraced her and really befriended her. After middle school, Phillips and Hale attended different high schools. Phillips went to the University of blah and blah. Despite not playing much in the middle school basketball team, Hale was part of the state champion girls 4x400 meter relay track team for Martin Luther King Junior High School. But anyway, at different high school, Phillips drifted apart from Hale, but over the years, Hale would reach out to her on social media, often referencing their times together in middle school was mostly sweet, said, but sometimes it was unnerving. When Phillips arrived at middle school, State University, and set up her email for the very first time, she was surprised to find that there was already an email from Hale waiting for her. Phillips also occasionally received memorabilia from Hale connecting to their time at the Crestwell team together. Patton had no idea how Hale knew her address. That's interesting. I'm trying to be as respectful, as honest as possible, Phillips said. It felt obsessive. It felt like stalkerish behavior. Now, when we get into some of the other articles I'll be reading today, there's a reason for that. Like, Hale was like completely obsessed with some of these people. Anyway, Hale's behavior never escalated to the point where Phillips felt need to contact authorities, but recent interactions left people confused and uncomfortable. In February 2022, Hale came uninvited to a birthday party at Ponium's Bar and Restaurant in Goodlettsville that was attended by some members of that middle school team. Phillips said Hale did not seem to be using male pronouns at the time. Phillips arrived after Hale had noticed her former teammate acting visibly drunk, stumbling and slurring words, but the other people at the party said that Hale didn't have anything to drink. Everyone believed Hale was pretending to be drunk at a party that she had not been invited to. Phillips hadn't seen Hale in person for many years, but remembering Hale's mother from their middle school playing days, Phillips tried to get Hale's phone so she could contact Hale's family and get home, Hale home safely, but Hale refused. The other people at the party weren't sure what to do for Hale. Everybody was confused. Phillips said it was just rubbing us in a weird way of like giving us real negative feelings. It didn't feel right. After Hale refused all help getting home, Phillips left, but she soon started getting social media messages begging her to come back. The messages were clear and grammatically correct. However, hardly the kind of messages sent by someone as inebriated as Hale had been acting. Phillips saw Hale later in 2022 at the celebration of life for their former teammate, Sidney Sims, who had died in an August car crash in Nashville. She remembers Hale following her to her car to continue to hang out. I was expressing to her that it was not the time nor the place, that we were all grieving. In a private message on Instagram, Sim's sister Taylor described how she and her sister had not had any contact with Hale for years until Hale attended Sim's funeral. But then Hale showed up uninvited at another family event. So yeah, that's stalker-ish, all right. That is like just outright stalker-ish. She then popped up uninvited to my sister's painting that my mom held a few weeks ago. Still don't know how she found out. A former classmate at Nashville School of Arts remembered Hale would often play basketball in the gym after school, although it doesn't appear she played on any school team after middle school. The classmate who declined to be named said that Hale's senior art show, there were colored pencil drawings of the girls on the basketball team. Hale ended a final Instagram post, which Hale subsequently told Patton was a suicide note and a direct message with a series of 5 emojis. One of them was a basketball. So we definitely have somebody who is socially awkward, and I guess like in her journal, she describes herself as autistic, which doesn't really surprise me. And there's been a constant theme of people who are autistic more or less being kind of co-opted and drawn into the trans movement. And so that's how you end up with these people that are being identified as trans when the reality is they probably just have other, comorbid mental illnesses. So I have to take a second to deal with something. So I'm going to go ahead and play my video that I did on the 3 journal pages that were initially revealed. And then I'm going to get right back to you guys. So give me just a second here. And thanks for everybody for tuning in today. You guys are going to be seeing more content from me now. I just had to kind of figure some things out as far as like motivation and all that. But if you, especially those of you who are my Patreon supporters who stuck with me through all of this, I really appreciate it. If you could do me a favor, and reach out to me via email about any topics that you would like me to cover, please let me know, because I feel I owe you guys some things, and to give you some more content for sure. But, we have, with Pride Month going on, I used to just put on stuff that was all like Pride oriented, and that's essentially what I'm doing right now, the stuff that they don't really want to talk about. So in any case, give me just a moment. I have to handle something that just came up, and we will get to that. So, all right, 1 second.
Recently, Steve Crowder from Louder with Crowder got his hands on 3 pages of Audrey Hale, the recent Nashville trans shooters manifesto. At least that's what it was described as. Looking at it, though, it looks like 3 pages from a journal. Let's have a look. Death Day, 3/27/23, which would have been the morning in question. Today is the day. The day has finally come. I can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. I'm a little nervous, but excited too. Been excited for the last 2 weeks. There were several times I could have been caught, especially during the summer of 2021. None of that matters now. I am almost an hour and 7 minutes away. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent that of any sort. God, let my wrath take over my anxiety. It might be 10 minutes. It might be 3 to 7. It's going to go quick. I hope I have a high death count. Ready to die. Ha ha. Audrey. On another page, Audrey Hale breaks down their extended timeline for how they were planning the day to go. Of all of the things that were on here, the only real things of note that I think were particularly interesting was that they say that 11:20 a.m. they made a final videotape that I guess was supposed to be 10 minutes, which makes me wonder where that videotape is. I'm assuming that it's in the hands of the police and is likely never to see the light of day to the public, but then they put their time to die, Anyway, moving on to the next one. Now, this last one is interesting because if you remember when this was covered, the police claimed that they were still looking for a motive. But here on what looks like February 3rd of 2023, their motive was pretty clear. Kill those kids, those crackers, which was ironic because Audrey Hale is Caucasian, going to private fancy schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpacks. Wealthier daddies, Mustangs, and convertibles. Fuck you little shits. I wish to shoot you weak asses or weak ass dicks with your mop yellow hair. Want to kill you all, little crackers. Bunch of little faggots with your white privileges. Fuck you faggots. It's kind of ironic to me that somebody from the LGBTQ community would use that word. But either way, that's pretty clear what the motive is. The fact that there's any question about what the motive is interesting. What are they covering up for, really? But I will say that this is almost more of a racist message than an anti-cis or straight message, which of course makes me want to look at the rest of the journal and that final 10-minute video that, again, we'll probably never see. But you have to remember, folks, that they spend so much time trying to assure us that it's conservative Christian values are what lead to the white supremacists that are supposed to be the biggest threat to our safety, supposedly the biggest terrorist threat in the country. But these ideologies that are incredibly anti-white that I've gone over multiple times are definitely affecting the consciousness of the woke. If you guys remember my video that was called Killmonger Somehow a Hero, I go over not only what the actor himself said, but what people who interviewed him said about how Killmonger was somehow in the Black Panther movie not the villain, even though he was trying to arm all the people of color of the planet to kill all of the white people on the planet. That's an example of kind of the backwards thinking that we have here. So, bearing all of this in mind, one of the points that Crowder made during his Rumble stream that I feel was, very correct, was that if there had been any kind of white supremacist or conservative motive behind the shooter, you tend to hear those things immediately. Like some of you may remember from my video about Daryl Brooks, the CNN had put out an article as soon as Kyle Rittenhouse was exonerated, stating that there was nothing more dangerous in the United States than an angry white man. And Daryl Brooks was an interesting case because anybody who bothered to look deeper into what his motivations were would have come across his Facebook and Twitter posts that were blatantly anti-white, racist, black supremacist, etc. And for those of you who don't remember, Daryl Brooks is the man who, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, drove his SUV into a Christmas parade, murdering 6 people and injuring 40. Similarly, the NYC shooter, meaning the subway shooter, was also a black supremacist racist, and he opened fire on a subway, and nobody talked about his motivation. In fact, that story's more or less just been memory hold. And then there was a DC shooter who had a picture of Akub, or whatever the hell his name is, which is a character from, black supremacist, specifically like Nation of Islam theology, supposed to be like the black scientist who created white people or whatever. So there's plenty of this kind of extremism going on. But what tends to happen with the alt-left as it is now, if any such things ever occur, then we need to be discussing mental illness. If things like, say, the Buffalo shooting occurred, they identified the Buffalo shooter as not a lone wolf, but a mainstream Republican in Rolling Stone magazine. Despite the fact that his manifesto, he describes himself as an authoritarian communist, left-leaning. So there's definitely an effort being made right now to make people believe that conservatism and Christianity are extremely dangerous, and they're dangerous ideologies that lead to violence. However, in contrast, apparently, nobody is ever motivated to become radicalized to the point of doing something like this by any ideologies that they espouse. It's just obvious nonsense. And it's clear that there's a social engineering going on. I will link in the cards after this my various videos that I just mentioned, but it's all very clearly part of a bigger picture. We are being manipulated to believe that their ideologies are safe and our ideologies are dangerous. And if for some reason somebody from their, motivated by their ideology does anything, well, it's just about their mental health, and we have a mental health crisis. But supposedly the Buffalo shooter was in complete sanity, not to mention somehow a mainstream Republican, while at the same time being a left authoritarian. It's mental gymnastics at the perfect 10 level. And it's honestly depressing. But anyway, I will follow this story further. I was kind of surprised when this leak came out. And I think everybody was expecting, that eventually it would. The pictures, when I looked at them closely, looked like they were taken by a police officer sitting in a police car. And I don't know that. I don't know if I can ever confirm that. I was surprised we even got this much. I honestly think they were hoping they were just going to let this go and never talk about it again. But here it is, and it's strange. It's just like I said earlier, I was expecting to see a lot more stuff about this person being trans, but apparently they just hate white people and call them crackers, and they hate people with white privilege. That was one of the other things that was identified in one of these papers. Fuck you and your white privilege. So you're a white person doing this, which is something else that I encounter all the time on Facebook. I got told to check my white male privilege recently by a white woman in an argument. It's crazy, but that's the world we live in, folks. I'm going to be making another video shortly after this one. Thanks for tuning in, and, make sure you go.
Sorry about that, folks. I got it handled, though. In any case, but yeah, that kind of goes over the things that I'd already discussed on this topic. So, all right, we're going to move on now to the new articles that I had discovered about this. There's one source in particular that the quartering and such we're using was this Tennessee Star. Hey, Daisy, what's up, dear? Now let's go have a look at that. Take this one off. And once again, thank you for tuning in to V Radio. Shout out to all the people here watching from YouTube as well as X/Twitter, and my single viewer on Twitch. I don't know. I think it's the same person every time, but I always end up with one viewer on Twitch every time I go live. So that's why I still go to Twitch. So let's go ahead and start looking at these. There's a bunch of these articles, and we're going to have a look at them. So let's have a looky here. Which one of these do we want to do first? It looks like this one came out on June 8th. So let's have a look at this. Covenant killer Audrey Hale wrote freelance failure list charting professional shortcomings in recovered journal. Audrey Elizabeth Hale, who orchestrated the devastating Covenant school attack that claimed the lives of 3 9-year-old students and 3 adults on March 27th, wrote a list of her professional failures in the journal police recovered from her vehicle. The Tennessee Star reported on Wednesday it had obtained dozens of pages of Hale's writings from a source close to the Covenant investigation. Hale titled one undated entry Freelance Failure Shit and detailed the professional shortcomings she experienced after she graduated from Nassau College of Art and Design in 2022. You'll always miss 100% of your shots you don't take, wrote Hale. Then she wrote, I took all of them and missed 99%. Hale then listed 5 items under the subheading "What I Shot At" and described the first project she worked on as a police logo. According to Hale, she could no longer continue the police logo because the head leader left. After the police logo, Hale wrote that she attempted to secure an internship for American Spirits, likely referencing the Natural American Spirit Cigarette Company. Hale wrote this internship was total bullshit and not real. Hale then wrote that she received legitimate work to illustrate a book for a client, but revealed she finished the book, but not in full color because Hale's client never got the full product, Hale wrote, and the client was pissed off. She then claimed her first commission job was a scam and a lie. Out of the 5 projects Hale listed, she wrote that she only found success making a logo for my friend and expressed dissatisfaction, writing 1 out of 4 equals. She concluded the entry, "My reality equals freelance won't help shit." In possible reference to the scam Hale claimed she was subject to in a previous entry, Hale wrote the great length about scammers and how to avoid them. The internet is a dangerous place. At the bottom, she seemed to identify jobs, job searches, etc. Hale was born a biological female, but identified as a transgender man at the time of her death. In a journal entry titled "My Imaginary Penis," that discussed how she explored her sexual fantasies and gender identity struggles. Hale also revealed that she was employed as a delivery driver for a grocery service. My imaginary penis. She wrote a journal entry. Okay. Anyway, in another journal entry on February 10th, Hale wrote about losing deliveries due to oversleeping. It shouldn't be a problem getting up at 7 every morning, but unfortunately for me, it is. I've missed several morning orders this week. I missed 3 today. She hates herself for not making herself get up, etc. The Star on Thursday published the medications prescribed to Hale by staff at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Among those medications was escitalopram, better known as Lexapro, a depression medication with possible side effects that include mood swings, headache, tiredness, sleep changes, and brief feelings similar to electric shock. You know, my son and I were at a hotel recently, so you end up in a situation where you're like watching advertising, and man, the drug advertisements are so out of control. It seemed like there was like 2 or 3 in every commercial break. And you're always kind of going like, what the hell? Like these side effects are terrible. And the ones that always like trip me out the most are the ones that are like if you experience like the following side effects could be like some sexual side effects. That's one of the most popular, but one of the side effects can be death. Like if you experience any of these side effects, please stop taking this medication. I was like, well, yeah, if I die from it, I'm definitely not going to be taking it anymore. But anyway, Hale was additionally prescribed buspirone, which when taken with Lexapro can increase the likelihood of side effects for both drugs. While Hale's sources of income appear to have been limited to her inability to find freelance work or regularly deliver groceries, on Friday it was reported she used federal Pell Grant money. Now, this is what one of the viewers just pointed out in the chat, to spend about $2,600 on weapons, ammunition, and other equipment. Both Star News Digital Media, which owns and operates the Star, are plaintiffs in lawsuits to seek to compel both the Metro Nashville Police Department and the FBI to release Hale's full writings, including those some call a manifesto. The Star published an FBI memo last Wednesday addressed to MNPD Chief John Drake, which appears to identify writings left by individuals like Hale as legacy tokens. According to the memo, the FBI strongly discourages the release of such legacy tokens, in part due to concerns about false narratives and conspiracy theories being crafted by uninformed or a cynical public. So we don't deserve to know the truth because we might craft conspiracy theories. Let's not forget, folks, that the whole thing about the FBI coining the phrase conspiracy theories was to try to create a negative connotation to anyone who might consider that perhaps the official story of the JFK assassination wasn't legit. And now it's becoming more mainstream to talk about that openly, you know. So anyway, I'm gonna check the chat here for a second, see what you guys are saying. So as Arby says, exercise, eat healthy, community is better for the people than meds. Data shows it. Not that there isn't some real mental health issues that need meds, but most people need healthy lives, not big pharma. But yeah, and then just as a longtime viewer John Jackson points out, government cover-ups cause conspiracy theories. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Anyway, so let me see here. I actually don't need to have me on the screen, so I'll just do this, and that way. Okay. Well, that's not what I wanted to do, but okay. Here we go. I'll do this. And then I'll do this. We are now having technical difficulties. Please stand by. There we go. All right, now I'm going to do this. There we go. Now it's bigger. You guys can read along with me. Sorry about that. So, and, all right, moving on. I'm going to go back. So that one was put out on 8th. Says Vanderbilt silent on possible transgender treatment for Covenant killer Audrey Hale. We'll go and read this one. The Vanderbilt University Medical Center is silent about whether Covenant school killer Audrey Elizabeth Hale sought transgender drugs, surgeries, or other gender-affirming treatment following the revelation she was a 22-year-old mental health patient of the staff at VUMC. VUMC has now replied to multiple requests from comment from the Tennessee Star following the revelations, which include confirmation that Hale was prescribed at least 4 medications from VUMC and was treated by mental health professionals associated with VUMC since April 2001. According to the affidavit submitted by the Metro National Police Department detective to obtain a search warrant for VUMC records, which was published by the Star on Friday, Hale was a 22-year-old patient of mental health professionals associated with the hospital. The affidavit explained that Hale's mother told detectives after the shooting Audrey Hale was receiving psychological treatment at Vanderbilt Hospital and has been for some time. MNPD then located medical records, and the detective wrote established Audrey Hale has been receiving psychological treatment from Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of redundant. Thanks. Medications prescribed to Hale were discovered by the Star after it obtained the results of the MNPD search warrant. Police learned Hale was prescribed 4 medications from the hospital, including 2 anti-anxiety drugs, the common antidepressant Lexapro, and a nasal spray designed to moisten nasal passages. The search warrant additionally obtained information from VUMC that confirmed Hale experienced both suicidal and homicidal ideation, including fantasies of killing her father and enacting a school shooting. VUMC communications staff did not respond to a comment request from the Star that sought to establish whether Hale informed her psychiatrist or therapist that she desired to transition from her biological female gender to becoming a transgender man. The hospital likewise did not respond when asked if it acted based on requests for transgender health care by Hale, and it's probably not going to. Well, I imagine they probably can't because of HIPAA, I would imagine. Maybe RB can comment on that in the chat, but I don't think they can say anything unless they're court ordered to do so. But again, if let's look at this here. So like, and search warrant additionally obtained from information from VUMC that confirmed Hale experienced both suicidal and homicidal ideation, including fantasies of killing her father and enacting a school shooting. Like, this isn't a red flag to anybody. Like, maybe this should have been looked at a little bit closer. Maybe just maybe. So, all right, let's go on to the next one. Okay. All right, so this is part of it. We'll go with this one here. Covenant killer Audrey Hale wrote about desire to kill her father in recovered journal. The journal recovered from the vehicle driven by Covenant's school shooter Audrey Hale, who had at least 5 entries expressing animosity towards her father, including one page where Hale wrote of her desire to kill him. The Tennessee Star confirmed last Wednesday it had obtained dozens of pages. I'm not going to read all the stuff that we've already been over in other articles, but among the roughly 80 pages of 5 entries in which Hale mentioned her father, Ronald Hale, including an updated entry in which she expressed a desire to kill him and other cranky and mentally ill men. Titled Dad Problems, Audrey Hale complained in the journal entry, "I hate when my dad loves on the cats, not me." Okay. He never once loved me for years, maybe like ever as a child, maybe. She wrote, "I hate this old cranky man existence. All cranky, good for nothing, mentally ill men should die." Audrey Hill additionally complained her father had a negative outlook, then in capital letters wrote, "Well, guess what? You are sick, a loser. I hate you. I hate your life. I don't care if you die. I want to kill you." She added the entry, "Dad is not real. Everything hurts," and drew a frowning face. The Star previously reported that Audrey Hale wrote on January 19, 2023, in which she called Ronald Hale delusional, and he appeared to encourage her to accept the death of Sydney Sims, a former classmate and childhood friend. That's actually the girl who was on the basketball team we talked about earlier. In an updated journal entry entitled A Bad Equation of Life, which appears to have been written in February, Hale wrote, "Dad equals," whatever that is. She then drew a series of arrows connecting the word dad to the words mentally ill and abnormal, Crohn's disease, and health problems. Audrey Hale then wrote that Ronald Hale should be put out of his misery. The killer also wrote extensively about her father on February 28, 2023, when she claimed to be upset by his physical appearance. Disgusted with that, like disgusted being in a female body makes me think about dying. Born a biological female, Hale identified as a transgender man at the time of her attack. The final entry in which Audrey Hale referenced her father appears to have been written sometime after she selected March 27, 2023 as the date to enact her devastating attack, claiming the lives of 9-year-old students, 3 9-year-old students, and 3 adults. A day without father will be a better day, wrote Hale next to the remark. Hale drew an image that appeared to depict a man wearing glasses. This reporting came after 99.7 WTN radio host Brian Wilson on Friday played audio from the Metro Nashville Police Department interview with Ronald Hale and Norma Hale. I wonder if that's on there. In that interview, one investigator told Ronald Hale and Audrey Hale had a schedule for the attack, which included slashing his tires. According to the investigator, Hale apparently planned to return to the family home after attacking the Covenant school in order to kill him. The investigator told Ronald Hale she wrote about it on more than one occasion. In addition to the writings, the investigator told Ronald Hale that his daughter recorded videos of herself speaking into a camera. Yeah, I remember this from that 3-page dump that they had put out, was that like part of her plan was to record a final video, and that I would be interested to see that video. I don't think it'll ever see the light of day, though. Anyway, you would be in a chair, she'll come up behind you and act like she was going to harm you, and then go back to her room. Oh, wait a second. Okay, would take the camera, walk out of the room, and record herself. At least once in years preceding her attack, Audrey Hale was referred to by a psychologist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, that's the one we were just looking at, for immediate mental health intervention after she expressed violent fantasies. So how do these people drop the ball? So at this point, we know that the psychologist sent her there, with warnings. How do they drop the ball? Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they convinced her she was trans. Anyway, the Star obtained an MNPD affidavit and search warrant for VUMC, which obtained information confirming Audrey Hale told mental health professionals she thought about killing her father and committing a school shooting. So VUMC was also told that this person was talking about being a school shooter. Again, how do they drop the ball here? So anyway, the Star published an FBI memo last week sent by the federal agency, which strongly advised against releasing legacy tokens left by individuals like Audrey Hale. We went over this earlier. They don't want to have that information out. Meanwhile, once again, as has been pointed out by many people, whenever somebody that they think leans conservative does these things, then they're all about everything about them getting out to the public. And I say this as somebody who's not a conservative. You guys all know, but it's just obviously true. So let's see. I think there was one up here I wanted to do first. Okay, here we go. Covenant killer Audrey Hale called herself White Nothingness, wrote about romantic desire for brown girls in recovered journal. Covenant school killer Audrey Elizabeth Hale appeared to refer to herself as White Nothingness twice and expressed her physical attraction to brown girls in the journal police recovered from her vehicle. The Tennessee Star confirmed that Wednesday it obtained dozens of pages of Hale's writings from a source close to the Covenant investigation. The writings were recovered by the Metro Nashville Police Department on the day of the March 27th attack and claimed the lives of 3 yeah, we went over that. In a journal entry that appeared to be dated February 7, 2023, Hale wrote in all capital letters, White Nothingness, then drew arrows pointing to a paragraph about her life. My parents aren't rich. They work hard for their money, so I didn't end up homeless, yet I still feel bad, wrote Hale, after declaring that poor people resent this shit. Later on the same page, Hale created a flowchart that used arrows to connect the word brain to the concepts of white privilege and embarrassment. She additionally drew a series of arrows identifying herself as no one. It is better to be average and have friends. The most brilliant people suffer the most and are most isolated from everything they love, wrote Hale. Hale also used the white nothingness term in February 10th, 2023 journal entry about losing delivery jobs due to oversleeping. No one will think my life meant something after I die, Hale wrote. None of this shit will matter to them once I'm dead. Since she continued, no way will they ever notice when I'm gone. In all capital letters, she signed the entry White Nothingness, followed by the name Aiden. Born a biological woman, Hale began using the name Aiden after identifying as a transgender male. While Hale did not appear to use White Nothingness again in the writings delivered by the Star, she described herself as nothing in an undated early entry that seemed to reveal Hale's sexual preferences. No brown girls, no love, wrote Hale. She then drew a picture of a broken heart and wrote, I am nothing. Brown love is the most beautiful kind. In 2023, a former classmate suggested Hale was infatuated with Sidney Sims, who died in 2022 following a vehicle accident. Hale wrote entries addressed to Sims, who was black throughout the journal, in addition to entries about her desire to unite with Sims after death. Elsewhere in the journal, Hale declared herself the most unhappy boy alive and wrote, "I will be of no use of love for any girl if I don't have what they need: boy's body, male gender." Hale also referred to herself as nothing in an undated entry that appears to have been written in January 2023. She wrote, "Without my creativity, my art possessions, I am nothing." Both Star News Digital Media, which owns and operates the Star, and editor-chief Patrick Leahy are plaintiffs in lawsuits which seek to compel the police department to give out more of the stuff. And again, the FBI is still whining, "Please don't reveal this stuff." So at this point, this kind of goes with those other 3 pages that we looked at earlier, was that there was this really anti-white thing going on in the 3 pages that have been revealed earlier. And once again, remember what I said when we started all this, folks, is that they keep saying to us that there's nothing dangerous about their ideology, that their ideology doesn't dangerously radicalize anyone, and that their ideology shouldn't be considered, to be a problem. It's actually just conservative ideology that leads to people doing stuff like that. And it's just obviously wrong. I mean, that's, you know, there's a real there's a real problem with only one of these things being considered to be possible, as far as radicalization. And then if one of them does do anything wrong, it's always mental illness. That is, of course, unless you're, Michael Forrest Reinhold, the Antifa killer, because at that point, then, you're a martyr for the cause. Sorry, guys, for some reason, my phone is blowing up at the same time that I'm talking to you, but you get the idea. Michael Reinhold was obviously radicalized by the Antifa ideology, and as a consequence of that, went out into the street and murdered people. But when you go back to that story, the only thing that anybody wants to talk about is how he got shot by cops. And if you guys want an in-depth deep dive into that, I went over everything, including some video footage of a witness making it very clear that no, point of fact, he did in fact have a gun pointed at cops and then got shot. He didn't just get shot. Like, they basically, really had nothing to do with it. So let me go ahead and have a look at the chat, see what you guys are saying. Do I believe in God? That's interesting. I'm agnostic. I'm not opposed to the possibility. I don't, but I, however, don't feel that there's enough evidence for me to come to that conclusion. I do, however, I'm very serious about religious freedoms. And as a consequence of that, I also raised my kids. Some of my kids are almost atheist, honestly, but I've told them, look, if they want to pray at dinner, and if they have religious beliefs, you should totally, honor those beliefs, and just go ahead and remember to give everybody their space and their grace, so to speak, on that. As Arby points out here, I think if someone is homicidal threat, I have a duty to report. I've done so before from the ER when I had a patient deny anything to police and then was on the phone ordering a hit. Wow. Yeah, I would say that's kind of a duty to report situation. And as John Jackson points out, there was some real self-hatred with that one, and I would agree wholeheartedly. And then interesting point. Genocidal failed artist, nothing new. Just a little bit of a Hitler reference there. You're right, though. Says conservatives don't have mental health issues with killing people. I don't really think any ideology is incapable of making somebody do things. I guess the question then becomes, at what point do we identify that it's the ideology that's creating the problem, and what point do we, determine that it's just mental illness? And they always have this way of suggesting that it's only mental illness, if it's one of us doing it. Like, as I pointed out in the video before, Darrell Brooks was an obvious black supremacist. The subway shooter in New York City was a black supremacist. There was a Washington, D.C. shooter that everybody forgets about, but they had a poster of Akub, who's like this character in the weird Nation of Islam black supremacist beliefs that was supposedly the evil scientist who created white people. And he had a big poster of it on the wall, and you could see a picture of it next to all of his firearms on a table. So these ideologies are definitely leading to some crazy places. The thing is that any version of left ideology needs to be treated as fringe. And as I pointed out with the Buffalo shooter identified themselves as a left-leaning authoritarian with communist beliefs. It didn't change the fact that they still reported it as if um, he was a mainstream Republican. But I don't know what left authoritarian wing of the Republican Party they thought this person belonged to, but they're desperate for that narrative. Desperate, like just absolutely desperate. So all right, let's see here. I know there's some more of these articles. And let's see. Apparently had planned to attack the school in January. Okay, so here's the one that has the instructions for if I don't survive my massacre, which is apparently exactly how they wrote it. Tennessee Star has obtained a suicide note left by the Covenant school killer Audrey Elizabeth Hale to her parents before a devastating March 27, 2023 attack that claimed the lives of 3 9-year-old students and 3 adults. Found the note posted to Hale's bedroom wall, which the Star has learned was adorned with childhood memorabilia and photos. Addressed to her parents, Hale also mentioned her brother Scott in the 2-paragraph note. If I don't survive my massacre, I want my room to be left exactly as it is left. Hale began her note. She instructed her mother and father, I don't want any of my possessions down in that dingy basement. In all capital letters, Hale continued, please read my will, where she explained to her parents would find instructions about what to do with her stuffed animals and possessions. While Hale did not offer details about her planned attack in the suicide note, she signified concern about repercussions for her surviving family members. I'm worried that you and Scott will have to go through, wrote Hale. She concluded the note, I'm sorry, but it is my time to go. I love you, Aiden. Hale was born a biological woman. We already know that. The existence of the suicide note was confirmed on April 4th, 2023, when an inventory of the items seized from the search warrant on the Hale family home was published. The Star, last Wednesday, confirmed it obtained about 80 pages, and we went over that. Star has published more than a dozen articles with excerpts of Hale's own writings. Among Hale's writings are journal entries that suggest she previously planned her attack in January 2023, planned the attack for at least 5 years, fantasized about and reportedly planned to kill her father, and repeatedly called a phone number identified as the National Suicide Prevention Helpline. So once again, this person was referred to a mental health facility and was given drugs and apparently told them that they were planning a school shooting, and nothing gets done. Like, those kids could still be alive. This is just crazy. Anyway, so, and again, of course, it needs to talk about the FBI memo saying, please don't give out legacy tokens. Don't tell everyone how this went down. So anyway, let's see if there's any. Okay, so this is about the obsession with the middle school friend. The journal recovered by police from the vehicle driven by Covenant school shooter Audrey Elizabeth Hale contains more than a dozen entries about Paige Aviarna Patton, Nashville-based radio personality who Hale previously befriended as a middle school student. The Tennessee Star reported last weekend it obtained about 80 pages. No evidence exists suggesting Patton was ever romantically linked to Hale. Was born a biological woman. Patton was first mentioned. Actually, there's also no evidence that Hale and Patton had communicated regularly after they graduated high school. Patton was first mentioned by Hale on the reverse side of the journal's front cover, where Hale drew a heart around the initials PAP that included appears to be Patton's birth date. In an entry on the second and third pages of the journal, dated January 15, 2023, Hale wrote variations of the phrases, if I ever cry all day, it's because I need your love. Next to one of the sentences, Hale drew an image of a broken heart. His second heart again contained the initials PAP. Later in the journal, in an undated entry, Hale drew a circle around the name Paige and wrote, I learned from you, PAP. Hale then wrote that Patton was the most beautiful girl and added, everything of me will be gone, only if you remember me. On the next page, Hale drew a large broken heart. In the area between the broken sides, she wrote, in all your darkest moments and all your tears and pain, all that was against you, I wish I was there for you. The next entry that mentions Patton appears to have been written on January 16, 2023, the day before Hale previously planned her attack on the Covenant school, according to her journal. In a letter addressed to Paige, Hale wrote, I'm going to kill people tomorrow. Please don't be mad. I'm going to do something bad tomorrow. It's too sad to even think what you might feel. I'm so sorry. I love you. Apparently, at a later date, Hale drew lines through both instances of the word tomorrow and wrote someday in the margin of the page. In a postscript, Hale wrote, I think God will enter me in heaven. If I do get there, I'll be waiting for you. I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's how that works. No, I don't think you're going to heaven if there is such a place. Hale, in a second postscript, wrote to Patton that her then current hairstyle was so similar to the one from my middle school. It's like seeing you a child again. An entry dated February 10th, 2023 similarly contains the initials PAP inside a heart, but also includes hearts around the names Britt and Nick. And fuck everybody else, Hale wrote. No, really, I'm going to die no matter what. Just a few pages later in the journal, in an entry dated February 17th, oh, my birthday, Hale again wrote Patton's initials and drew a heart around them, but added in capital letters, "You are infinite." Yeah, she was really obsessed with this person. Wow. Society and politics are scum in this world. What nature should wipe clean? Oh, no way, you don't compare, Hale wrote in the Century. Scum versus you, no way, it can't compete. Hale then wrote, when your name is heard, I love you, and added, when your face smiles and the sun smiles with you, and all the earth sings your love, makes the world go round. Patton's initials appear again, written inside a heart 2 pages later in an undated entry. Another 2 pages later, Hale wrote, Paige, I love you, it all hurts. In an entry dated February 26, Hale indicated she planned to attend one of Patton's live events the next day. Tomorrow, I'll see my beautiful brown girl at the happiest she has ever been. She deserves it most. Hale then drew 2 illustrated logos featuring Patton's professional name, every Rihanna, the personality. She also once again drew Patton's initials in a heart, but again said, your light amidst my darkness. Despite the event purportedly taking place on February 27th, Hale did not write a journal entry about attending it until March 2nd. 27th was a beautiful night, just like my brown girl. She looked so beautiful that night. I could not take my eyes off her, wrote Hale. She continued, it's like my soul is bound to her spirit or something. Hale continued, call it lust or pervertedness. I know who I am attracted to, and I can't unchange that. While Hale wrote that she spoke to Patton during the event, the journal seems to indicate the meeting was short-lived. I wish I was more a part of it, wrote Hale. She later wrote, for the life of me, I cannot help but gaze into her beauty. So when her hand laid onto me after the show, it's being touched by an angel. Just 3 pages later, Hale wrote another letter to Patton, this time about her parents, Ronald Hale and Norma Hale. Paige, aren't parents manipulative? It's total ignorance when parents step in and try to change their child's environment, make them go to youth group, and force Christian friends in their life because the old ones were a bad influence, wrote Hale. Hale later wrote, parents actually believe religion can change nature. That could explain why I don't practice religion anymore. At the end of the century, Hale wrote, I admire you, so independent, so young, me young too, and what I desire to die and be with you. Hale next mentioned Patton in passing on March 16th entry. She noted another black girl who hung out at the center and had the eyes and lips braces similar to Paige's physical features and even showed the personality similar to Paige. Wow. This is like way over the top. Anyway, on March 17th, just 10 days prior to the Covenant school attack, Hale wrote, Dear Paige, the biggest hurt of them all, I love you. An additional 4 entries in Hale's journal do not mention Patton, but the name by name, but appear to describe her and be directed at her. In an undated entry near the beginning of the journal, Hale wrote, Audrey is not my name, but when you say it, I am just as little as I was back then. I can be a kid again with you, alongside you, even if I can't really be with you. I got to wonder, like, because it says there's no proof they even talk to each other. You'd wonder, like, is this all going on in their mind? Like, is this just like an affair that's going on in their mind? Yeah, anyway. So she named, signed the Century Aiden and then put like the name Audrey in parentheses. Another updated entry, Hale wrote to an unnamed person, you give the best hugs, but a strong hug of yours would take a strong connection, something I'm unable to give. On the next page, Hale wrote an entry titled Longing about an individual that could be Patton. Seeing you dance, love your friends, even as a stranger. I saw the child I used to know again, Hale wrote, the child that knew how to smile, to be funny, pour out your soul into what you love and who you love the most. The final possible reference to Patton came on the reverse side of the journal's back cover. After covering the page in a combination of red and black, Hale drew that appears to be an envelope titled Torn Apart. It is addressed to my 2 loves. Both Patton and Hale attended Isaiah T. Cresswell Middle School in Nashville, and Patton was previously identified as the former basketball teammate of Hale, right? Patton later released the messages to New York Post, revealing Hale had claimed a now deleted post to social media was a suicide note and told her female teammate, I am planning to die today. Hale informed Patton, you'll probably hear about me on the news after I die. We went over that earlier. Hale rebuffed Patton after she was urged to reconsider, but told her former classmate, I wanted to tell you first because you're the most beautiful person I've ever seen or known all my life. After receiving the message, Patton quickly called the police and a 911 call that has since been released, but the Daily Mail reported the law enforcement was already responding to Hale's attack at the Covenant School by the time the call was placed. The Star attempted to contact Patton to discuss her interactions with Hale, but did not receive a response prior to press time. Hale, in addition to Patton, was also reportedly infatuated with Sydney Sims, another female. Yeah, that's the other one we were talking about. The one who died in a vehicle accident. Near the beginning of the journal, Hale wrote, "I know Sydney is waiting for me. My time is coming soon to leave this realm behind, all in my pain. No more wounds to heal because we will become whole." In February 7th entry, Hale wrote, "I can't be consistent with anything since I left school, and since Sid died, all my efforts feel meaningless because I don't work enough, don't make enough, and don't do enough." So again, it repeats all of the stuff about the FBI not wanting to, any of this stuff coming out to the public. Let's have a look at the chat again, folks. What's up, Cool Frog? Yo. Let's see what we got here. Like the New Zealand shooter, the Buffalo Kid was essentially a National Socialist, falls under the far-right umbrella in common parlance because of the racial motives of the perps. I don't agree with that because I read the manifesto. You can be left and still be racist. Those things are not exclusive. In fact, some aspects of the Soviet Union were racist. Racism is not built into right-wing ideology, nor is it built into left-wing ideology, nor is it exclusive to either. What the manifesto revealed was that he had studied communism, not National Socialism. He wasn't a Nazi. He had studied communism since he was 12 years old. And the reality is that you can be a communist. You can believe in sharing, everything as far as your economics and all. You can believe in all the Marxist stuff. Marx himself was kind of racist from what I've been told. It doesn't change the fact that the issue here is that you could want a communist country and only want, your race included. That is entirely possible. Those things are not incompatible with each other. This idea of suggesting that only the right can be racist is just bullshit. There's just nothing true about that. So anyway, yeah, an OCD fantasy relationship. I would agree, John. And yeah, actually, I heard about this too. The same stuffed animals she kept trying to, do stuff with. It's pretty rough. But I remember this being reported. I don't remember by who. I only just started looking back into this stuff recently. So, it is entirely possible though. Especially since they were important enough to her that she needed to know where they went after she died. So that's pretty cray-cray, not gonna lie. So anyway, let's go back. So all right, we got another one. Covenant killer Audrey Hale claimed independence is impossible due to my autism. Okay. The Tennessee Star confirmed last Wednesday, we already did that, an updated entry near the beginning of the journal. After Hale claimed to be scammed during an internet transaction, she wrote about her lack of independence. Independence is impossible due to her autism, wrote Hale, who was a 28-year-old at the time. She continued, people pretend they like me, then block me, delete me, and erase me. After writing profane statements about those who claim scammed her, Hale wrote about experiencing psychological and physical pain. I hurt just about in every way possible mental condition from anything possible, Hale wrote before signing the entry as Aiden, a biological female. We already been over that. In the margin of the page, Hale wrote in capital letters, no love, no brown girls. Yep, we've been over that. Hale in a separate entry where she described her emotional state after becoming a victim to the alleged internet scam wrote, no one gets me. Everyone misunderstands autism. In that entry, she repeatedly denied being bipolar. In another entry, Hale drew a flowchart that seemed to question whether the autism diagnosis was a result of her male brain. Here we go. This is where we start saying that, people with autism are obviously trans. Anyway, Hale also referenced her purported autism diagnosis in a fourth entry in which she'd first declared, I need a trans doctor. She concluded that entry by writing, my therapist now is the best I could get for help. She then added the words, my autism, and drew an illustration of a puzzle piece that appears to be a crying boy. Police documents published established that Hale was a 22-year patient of a mental health professionals at the Vanderbilt University. She first began receiving, we've been over that, back in 2001. and they won't comment on it. And of course, obviously, the FBI still doesn't want any of this stuff out. So, Governor Audrey Hale claimed she had too much estrogen, or I'm just a sad, lonely boy, in Recovered Journal. Covered at school killer Audrey Hale wrote about having too much estrogen and described herself as a sad, lonely boy in the journal police recovered from her vehicle. Let's see. Hale, a biological woman. Yep, we've been over that. In a lengthy, updated entry, Hale titled "My Brain, This Life," she wrote, I've always been different. A lot of people run away from my difference, like it is a plague or something. She later lamented, "Why did God make me this way? I feel wrong. I was born wrong." Further in the entry, Hale divulged, "I am not eating 3 meals a day like I'm supposed to, not on the job search like I'm supposed to. I've been doing well at preparing myself to die." The entry is comprised of 2 full pages with sporadic writings in the margins. On the second page of the entry, Hale discussed her struggle with her gender identity. "My dreams cannot be here, so I must die. I feel bad, hurt too much, sad, all the God, I'm assuming, whatever time." Hale wrote, "Either I have too much estrogen or I'm just a sad, lonely boy, or maybe you're just autistic and maybe you just had mental illnesses that were not being treated by people who were telling you that your real problem was that you were born in the wrong gender." Anyway. She then wrote of her desire to exist in an imaginary world and complained that in reality she feels stuck in a body that is destined to rot someday. "I hope that day is soon." Earlier in the entry, Hale wrote, "I am 27. My youth is resting in the abyss. I want to be at rest with it." Hale was at 28 at the time of her attack. Hale also wrote about her apparent inability to form social connections, relaying feelings of extreme loneliness in the journal entry. "I have no one to talk to," wrote Hale. "I talk to myself. I'm with myself all the time." Hale wrote numerous other entries in the journal about her struggle with gender identity, including one where she complained about being misgendered and wrote, "I hate everything about my gender." In another entry, Hale declared herself the most unhappy boy alive and wrote, "I will be of no use for or of love for any girl if I don't have what I need." Yeah, we went over that in another one. Hale also wrote a 3-page entry entitled "My Imaginary Penis." We talked about that one a little earlier. In that entry, Hale revealed she used stuffed animals. Well, here you go, including a stuffed boy doll, to act out her heterosexual fantasies that she would then photograph. Well, there you go. That's the source. Multiple comment requests to Vanderbilt University. Yep, they're not going to answer, along with a list of medications, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go. Yeah, so apparently she was using, let's see, journal entries. She discussed sex with stuffed animals, saying, "I could pretend to be them and do the things the boys do and experience myself as Tony," the Star reports the journal reading. I guess that's, Tony was like some other name they were thinking about taking, and Gypsy Harlow says, "Oh my God, you're back." Yes, I'm back. And I'm front. And I'm sideways too. And anyway. So we have fascism and communism are both flavors of socialism. It's similar to the Catholic versus Protestant rift. Both are Christian with different dogma. I don't know if I agree with that. Soviet Russia was like enforced to be atheist. So I don't get where you get that, unless you're talking about, oh, I see what you're saying. Never mind. But anyway, the thing that's really important to understand when you're discussing stuff like this is that communism can be authoritarian or it cannot be authoritarian. People have to stop like believing that Tiffany says, "Whatever happened to good old fashioned penis envy?" People have to stop thinking that the economic systems are automatically, related directly to the level of authority the government would have. If people are part of a voluntary commune, then it's not a authoritarian commune, and people do that sometimes. Sometimes people just come together and want to share resources and work together. You can have non-authoritarian capitalism for the same reasons, and you can have authoritarian versions of both of them. But anyway, so going back to it, let's have a look here. Yeah, we got a lot of viewers today. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. Keep showing up like this, I'll stream every day. If you guys would like to see that, please let me know in the comments. Let me see. Aubrey Hale had a Fur Affinity account, and after the shooting, many Furies wrote on her page trashing her. I don't know what to think about furries. I I don't think that everybody involved with that is a bad person, and some of them just seem to be participating in kind of like a, it's like a strange cosplay activity, but I've never gotten a bad vibe from them as a whole. I do think that there's bad people in it, but I also think there's bad people involved in basically anything. So, um, but anyway, all right. So yes, that's why she cared about her stuffed animals. All right. So anyway, this will probably be the last one I read before I just talk to the audience for a while. Anyway, substantiated allegation by WSMB reporter prompts judge to order show cause hearing over the Tennessee Star's reporting on Covenant killer investigation. Remember, they don't want anybody reporting on this. Late Monday, Michael Patrick Leahy, the editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Star, was ordered to appear at a show cause hearing before Tennessee Chancery Court Judge Lashia Miles on June 17th over his publication and his reporting about the writings left by the Covenant School shooter, which would be all the articles I just read. The purpose of the show cause hearing will be to determine why the alleged publication of certain purported documents by petitioner Star Digital Media does not violate the orders of this court, subjecting them to contempt proceedings and sanctions. The Star reported last Wednesday it has obtained. Yep, we've been over that. Okay, so they're not publishing any photographic images of the pages. I don't know why that's relevant. Operates the Star, both plaintiffs in the ongoing Tennessee lawsuit to compel the police department to actually reveal the rest of it. Judge Miles explained in her Monday order that the court received a media call requesting a comment or statement. According to the Miles order, the comment requested involved the alleged publication of certain purported documents, information that this court has in its possession for in-camera review on this matter. WSMB reporter Stacey Cameron, pictured above, acknowledged that he placed the media call requesting comment in an article he authored that was published by WSMV on Monday, was responsible for making the unsubstantiated allegation that the judge apparently included the inaccurate claim that the Star had allegedly published leaked documents in violation of her order. However, Judge Miles was unaware of the supposed leak until WSMV4 investigates. Stacey Cameron called the court asking for a reaction to the leak, wanting to know if she was considered holidaying the Star or anyone in contempt. On Monday night, Judge Miles set a court hearing for next morning, Monday morning, ordering the Star Leahy to appear before the judge and show cause why she should not hold them in contempt for their alleged publication of the documents in violation of her order. According to Cameron, he specifically called the court to ask Miles was considered holding the Star or anyone else in contempt. In a post Cameron made on the social media platform X, he additionally claimed, "My phone call to the court prompts contempt hearing in Covenant Writings case following new round of leaks." On Monday, Leahy will be asked to explain in court why the alleged publication of certain documents does not violate previous orders set by the court. So basically, they had released an order that stated any supplemental findings, declarations, and/or affidavits filed by the parties or sought to be filed by the parties containing any direct information, no matter how much obtained, which is the subject matter of this case, shall not be filed with the court, but shall be submitted in a camera review following the procedures delineated in this case. Basically, it looks like what's going on here is just the judge had ordered that none of this stuff come out, and then it did. And now they're going after the people for bringing it out. And I again think that it's interesting to me that, like I said, Buffalo Shooters Manifesto was released immediately. Anytime they have somebody to push their big right-wing boogeyman narrative, then they're all about it getting out to the public. But if it doesn't go along with that, then they don't want to talk about it. So and as John Jackson points out, the public has a right to know, yet Democrats are trying to censor and bury it all. And that's why, despite being left-leaning on several issues, I am not a Democrat. And it's funny now, we've had a lot of these kinds of things come up, like the Hunter Biden laptop. They're finally admitting that was real. The the lab leak theory issue is now being revealed to be real. And then Fauci apparently came out and was finally admitted that a lot of the COVID restrictions were just kind of made up, not necessarily even the right moves to make, so, but in any case, looking back here, I'm going to take a look at the chat, see if I missed anything interesting. So you say you're one, I'm assuming you mean a furry, and you acknowledge its weirdness. I've never really gotten a vibe that those people are going to hurt anyone. They just have a similar interest in things. But there hasn't been any talk about any testosterone, Tiffany. It looks like, though, they were on a few different psychoactive drugs, and as Arby pointed out, that none of them were good. But I do know that being on testosterone creates a lot of problems. I used to have a trans roommate, and I was just sitting at the dinner table one day. I wasn't at the dinner table, I was at my computer, and I was just eating. And they were sitting at the kitchen table, and they got up and stormed over to me and said that they didn't know why, but something about the way I was chewing led to them wanting to punch me in the face. Like, they didn't, but, like, it was a really bizarre situation, and it was definitely, in my opinion, fueled by the testosterone, because they would have these crazy emotional outbursts that didn't make any sense, and they were on a lot of testosterone. So, but anyway, yeah. But they did say she was on SSRI, as John Jackson points out. So, oh man. So, as Arby points out, teen boys become men when they learn to control the effects of testosterone. It's a powerful drug. I would agree. And I've just watched people's mental illness get screwed up by it. So, I mean, mental illness, mental health, like, just right there in real time in front of me. Like I mentioned, that roommate lived in my house for a year. And so, again, I'm not against trans people, but I do think that some of these people definitely are not really, like, fitting the bill. It frequently, what I run into is you meet them and it's like they're trying to get away from something. So, oh, that's interesting. A zeitgeist question. I haven't seen one of those in a while. Go ahead and close this down so you guys can just look at me talking. Yay. Peter Joseph is in fact working on a new film, as far as I know. I don't talk to Peter as much as I used to. I used to talk to them on Twitter more recently. Every now and then they would chat back. But when they got banned from Twitter, I don't think they were ever up again. They also got banned from Facebook. I don't know if, like, they would stay banned if they asked, but yeah, Peter's supposed to be working on a new project right now. I have no idea what it'll be about. I didn't like the last one as much as the ones before, but I think he's trying to do more artwork rather than trying to do more stuff like that. But anyway, so thanks for tuning in today, folks. If you guys have any questions, we can just switch to ask me anything mode here for a few minutes if you guys have anything you want to discuss. But I will be doing some more streams, and again, especially to those of you who are my Patreon and Subscribestar supporters who stuck with me during this kind of brief hiatus. Well, it wasn't even that brief. This hiatus I took for a while. I feel like I owe you guys. So if there are any show topics you want me to cover, any guests you want me to try to get, especially if you're one of those paid subscribers, please, don't hesitate to reach out to me via email. My HY page needs to be fixed. Otherwise, I would be giving that link out again. But remember that I'm also on Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute. I'm on a lot of different podcast formats. You can get, like, when I upload the audio versions of my shows. Probably do this one in audio too, because of the fact that it should translate pretty well. According to Giorgio, Daily Mail article, devout Christian father of Nashville school shooter finally breaks cover to collect items from his $700,000 home, but refuses to address his trans daughter's massacre. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to say about it. But apparently, like, it was Audrey's plan, if they survive the massacre, to head home and kill their dad. So, sounds pretty messed up, man. I think, though, that, again, it's, something you see frequently when it comes to these people who get sucked into these ideologies, is that they usually have something else going on. They want to belong to something. They want to be part of something. That's why a lot of people join Antifa, like, and you look at them when they're unmasked and you're like, holy crap, this person looks pretty messed up. And, it's because of the fact that they want to belong to something. And it's pretty clear that Audrey had a fixation on the basketball team that she was part of in middle school, so much so to the point that, they were infatuated with members of it and tried to stay, in touch with them, and then, like, showed up at a birthday party they weren't invited to. That's all generally an indication of just being isolated, and that's unfortunate. But again, I just keep coming back to this fact, because I'm navigating my own difficulties with the medical world right now, my children's problems with the medical world right now. It's interesting to me, for example, that in the medical world, they are very quick to diagnose people with psychosomatic pain problems or having some kind of mental problem that is leading to them thinking that they have pain. They're trying to say that to my son. They're trying to say that to my daughter, but and it's actually not the psychologist doing it; it's the doctors. And I remember actually it took my daughter 4 years to get an actual pen to paper diagnosis that she has post concussion syndrome. And as we were walking out of the institute that gave her her diagnosis, I said to her, if you had just told them you thought you were a boy, they would have been falling all over themselves to give you, new hormones and to, remove your breasts and all that crap. But because you just said that you had pain that they couldn't explain, they were quick to say that you just had some kind of a mental problem. And I think largely some of it, at least in that instance with her, is that they mistreated her concussion very badly. And as a consequence, I think that they were just trying to drag us out long enough to be sure we couldn't sue the doctors, which according to one of the lawyers I talked to is a pretty common theme, but as John Jackson points out, I imagine her social isolation has a lot to do with her autism. And I would agree with that. And it's an unfortunate truth. But when you look at these people, like, especially when you study how these people infiltrate schools, like the teachers and stuff, they go look for people who have no friends and then can, basically bring them into what they call diversity club, is what they called it in one of the schools my kids were at, just to try to to disguise what it really was and what its real purpose was. And its real purpose was to try to find LGBTQ kids and then to try to convince people that they are, more or less. And when you don't have any friends and then you join one of these social groups, you're put in a situation where, oh, well, I get to be special within the social group as if I identify with one of these, different things. Like, well, maybe I should be non-binary. Maybe I should be trans. Maybe I should be this. Maybe I should be that. And I've discussed many times on my streams in the past, there is like a hierarchy. For all this talk about equality, there is absolutely a hierarchy at play. And if you identify with, that's why we used to call it like the woke Olympics or the oppression Olympics. If you can identify yourself as many marginalized groups as possible, then you become more important within that group. It's not equality. When I was at Occupy, that's what the progressive stack was all about, was that they wanted the people who were the most oppressed to do all of the talking. And, so if you can identify yourself as, like trans and gay and black and, then you hold a higher place within that hierarchy. Let's see what Tiffany says here. My 17-year-old niece weighs 105 pounds right now and cannot eat. They've saying she's bipolar and put her on SSRIs and sleeping pills. They haven't addressed the eating disorder at all. Yeah, and it would make me wonder, is there anything gastrointestinal going on? This is one of the problems, is that when they feel like it anyway, this is one of the reasons why there's a big difference here, okay? So, like, for example, I'm pretty sure my daughter has damage to her hypothalamus. That's part of your brain that handles your circadian rhythm, your menstrual cycle, a bunch of other things. And after her severe concussion, her circadian rhythm went haywire. She developed a horrible sleep disorder. And then, her periods, which used to be very normal and regular, went absolutely nuts. And I kept telling everyone, hey, I think that her concussion may have caused this. And they just kept kind of ignoring me, and then again, trying to suggest she had some kind of a mental problem. And then, I take her to a different institute that's, that specializes in this sort of thing. And it took me forever. And in fact, what they do is they do MRIs, they do all these scans. And this is what's different. This is the contrast that I'm talking about, is that if you go in there and say you're trans, you just saying that is enough to be taken seriously. If you go in there and say that you're in pain, well, then we've got to do all these scans. And if we don't find anything on the scans, then you're not in pain. You're imagining it. They don't like to try to come out and say what it is, but that's what psychosomatic pain really is that it's not real. It's just something that you think you feel. And, the contrast in comparison as far as to like what kind of evidence is required for somebody to be identified as trans and therefore in need of medical intervention, in comparison to somebody saying like, I can't eat, I can't sleep, or I'm in pain, the contrast is enormous. And the thing is that, I do think you should try to find as much material like proof of somebody's condition as possible. But like, there are a lot of different conditions that can happen that don't show up on any scans. Like, that is entirely possible. So, for example, when I finally got the guy to admit that my daughter has post-concussion syndrome, I said, well, I think she has damage to the hypothalamus. He's like, well, that doesn't show up in the MRIs. And I'm like, yes, but all of the studies I have read have showed that hypothalamus damage does not always show up on MRIs. And he admitted I was right. And I said, okay, well, then how the hell do you ever diagnose this then? He's like, well, through symptoms. I'm like, yeah, of which she has several, right? And in the meantime, with my son, who has chronic overtraining syndrome, they're trying to tell him he has amplified musculoskeletal pain syndrome, AMPS or whatever, which is another bullshit diagnosis. And the lady comes into the room with the paper with all of the with that on it, like already predetermining that she knows what it is. She goes down the list of all the symptoms and asks my son if he has them, and he goes, nope, 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 nope. And literally the only one that he did have was pain. He feels pain. He doesn't have any strange sensations. He doesn't feel temperatures differently. He doesn't feel anything else differently. That's not it. He's just in pain all the time. And it's likely because his previous high school wrestling team did permanent damage to his body, but nobody wants to talk about that. That's why I said, like, there's a weird contrast going on here, because when it comes to the trans thing, we have no real evidence whatsoever that this is a thing. If people want to express themselves that way, I'm not against it, so long as they leave the kids out of it. The libertarian part of me feels that way. But they don't have any evidence that this is a thing, and they're still using, old science that was gotten through guys like John Money and Alfred Kinsey, who were found to be total frauds, and they admit that they're doing that, and it's been found that that evidence was all bullshit, and they're still going with it anyway. So anyway, guys, I got to get going. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. I'm sorry that some of the articles were repetitive. They put out like 6 or 7 on the topic instead of just doing all in one. If I can get my hands on those 80 pages, I will do a deep dive, like old school B radio style, and we'll take it from there. If you guys are new to my channel, I did see a lot of new names in here. We should go ahead, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe. And again, if there's other mediums that you prefer, I would be happy to give them to you. But everything that I do is re-uploaded on Odyssey and re-uploaded on Rumble. I don't really get a lot of traffic on Rumble. I don't know why. I get more traffic on Odyssey. When I re-upload things to BitChute's actually like my second best channel, surprisingly enough. Although again, like I said, I don't know what Twitter is doing. But like I had like more viewers on Twitter the other day than I did on YouTube. So, but check out some of my other content. I've done a lot of content. I did some deep dives into the actual science about trans athletes in sports, which is actually the only thing I've ever been doxxed and had my life threatened over, was my bit about trans athletes in sports. But I went over every piece of science there is about that topic. And, because I am a sports coach who coaches girls, in a contact sport like wrestling, I'm frequently upfront and personal about that one. And in addition to that, I did interview Mac Beggs, the famous trans wrestler from Texas. And that interview went very strangely. I'm actually going to do some highlights and probably look back on it again, because Mac Beggs on the phone was very sober and clear-minded. And then like when I brought them on the stream, like they turned off their camera, and as the interview went on, it just seemed like they got high or they got drunk or something. But I did go over them with them everything I investigated, which was, the truth was, Mac Beggs could have wrestled boys at several of the tournaments that they went to, and then just didn't. But yeah, let's so I'm gonna go ahead and comment on this. But yeah, it really feels like the entire system is trying to speed run, pushing people over the edge, especially for the people on the right. At the moment, Europe is a good example. One of the things that I'm concerned about, and like this just goes to become more and more true, and I talk to my son about this all the time because he's now a teenager and is of an age where he's doing a lot more critical thinking about the world around him. But it is that, especially starting with Occupy, when Occupy happened, there was this good movement that was left leaning a lot of issues, but still enjoyed a lot of bipartisan support, was a peaceful movement. and it presented a real threat to the super uber wealthy establishment. And then these experts show up and tell us that we actually can't be the unified 99%, because we're actually supposed to all hate each other because of this racial issue, this gender issue, this sexual preference issue, whatever. And that was just one part of it, because I look now and it's like, because the right is fighting itself too, like the bickering between the Daily Wire, people and all that. It just seems like everything has become more or less like a set to create as much chaos as possible. And the reason that bothers me is not about right versus left. It's about authoritarian versus libertarian. Because if you can create enough chaos, people become more and more comfortable with authoritarianism because they want to be safe. And I would agree with what Fornever here says. And if you look, Fornever, at the artwork for my show, you would think I would definitely agree with you. Left versus right is a distraction. Liberty versus authoritarianism is the real battle. And I would agree wholeheartedly. And if you're new to my channel, please make sure you subscribe, because that's basically the big message that I have. That's the reason why you see the V character with the decapitated donkey and the decapitated elephant, which is a reference to the Republican and Democratic Party. I go over that a lot on this channel. It's very clear to me that people are trying to keep us divided. And I talk about that in one of my earlier videos, was just like why you should be an independent. I call it the Independence Manifesto, because have you ever noticed that our politics are packaged and you're expected to like follow your package? So where do I go? So for example, because I'm a pro healthcare, pro like welfare guy, but I'm also sitting on top of my carbine and my pistol. I'm pro gun rights, right? I'm pro religious freedoms. I'm pro but basically the point is that nobody really, I think, if they were allowed to develop their political ideologies themselves as independents, which is what the founding fathers actually had hoped everyone would do. There's a reason that political parties are not in the Constitution, was because fights between political parties was leading to riots and assassinations in England. That's why a lot of them people went to the United States. Sound familiar? But the point is that this whole right versus left paradigm is bullshit. And you can use it as a descriptor, but don't find yourself, turning it into a straitjacket. That's really what it amounts to. It can't be something that you're just forced to go along with. And there's so many things that just became political that were very strange. So, for example, the right being convinced that they should be anti-vaccine, when Trump was the one who was president when the vaccines were made, and Trump is on video saying you should absolutely take the vaccine. Like, and the vaccines are somehow associated with Biden in some way. You know, um, the fact that the entire COVID thing became a right versus left really doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and one of the people who was very concerned about vaccines and the way COVID was being handled is Brett Weinstein, who I did an interview on this show. And that guy's really left leaning, probably further than me. So there's just no reason for it. There are things that are being identified along ideological lines that don't really make any sense. Like gun rights and welfare have absolutely nothing in common. There's nothing in common between gun rights and welfare. Why are those things packaged together? Right? Why does healthcare get packaged together? And when you try to talk to people about it, like if I'm discussing healthcare, it's like you Democrats. And if I'm discussing, gun rights, well, then it's you Republicans. It's like, is it possible to be a pro-gun, left-leaning person? Well, apparently not in the Democratic Party, but that's what parties are bullshit. Get out of the parties. If you're going to become part of a political party for any reason, you do so specifically to vote for someone in the primary that you support, and that should be the end of it. Those parties, like they exist as independent entities. They're owned by corporations, both of them. Don't think that one is better than the other. And this is what I'll leave you guys with, because I got to go. But basically what you got to think about it like this: politics is like professional wrestling. Whether you're watching WWE SmackDown or whether you're watching WWE Raw, they're both still fake. And at the end of the day, those people all work for the same people. And that's the Republicans and the Democrats. Period. But what? Vishal Singh. You think V Radio is Vishal? No, dude. I've done content about what a fucking asshole that guy is. Oh, sorry. Anyway, pulling this up again. No, I am definitely not Vishal. Vishal's a piece of garbage. The guy who pretends to be a um, journalist while he walks around with Antifa and assaults people, including friends of mine like WYSIWYG TV. So no, this is definitely not his channel. I do need to ask you before I leave though, what would make you think that this was Vishal's channel? Is it the letter V? Let me know. Where did you get the idea this was Vishal's channel? Oh, okay, no problem. That's funny. I'm gonna tell Wizzy you said that. Like, somebody thinks I'm Vishal. Nope. In fact, I have videos where I show the video of him getting punched out by a guy on the street, like, over and over again. Yeah. But that's funny that I came up on a search for Vishal. No way. But yeah, that's not me. But hey, welcome to the channel. Please feel free to watch my content about Vishal. I'm actually friends with Mary Todd, who did a lot of exposés on Antifa. And we put a lot of members of Antifa behind bars. So no, I'm definitely not Vishal, and nor am I friendly to him. And we had plenty of big fights on Twitter because that guy's an idiot. Just basically an Antifa propagandist, very good at covering up for anything that Antifa does wrong, and then just intentionally falsely reporting on things that happen on the streets. So nope, he's everything I stand against, actually. And people like him, bring independent journalism a bad name. So, but anyway, thanks, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. All right, folks. I will talk to you all later. It's crazy that you do a search for Vishal Singh, who is an Antifa propagandist pretending to be a reporter, and then come up with me. No. It didn't change the course of my life. I was almost done anyway, but I appreciate it. You guys all take care. Oh, what's my Twitter? My Twitter is at VTV115. I'll type it in the chat real quick. You guys will probably have to manually enter me yourself because I've been shadow banned on Twitter for a while. But yeah, that's my Twitter there. And again, I have a Rumble channel. I have a Discord channel. If you guys ever want to join me on Discord, just if you join my Discord, be aware of the fact that I have one rule. It's like no personal attack. Obviously no spam, things like that. But we have a lot of good conversations in the Discord. But I am on Rumble, I am on Odyssey, I am on BitChute, I am on several podcasting mediums. Unfortunately, my HY page that used to link to all that stuff is not currently available. So I'm going to have to maybe I'll just make a website or something, go real old school. But either way, make sure you check out my archives, and I love feedback, guys. So don't hesitate to feedback on my videos. I really appreciate it when you guys do that, and I do engage with my comments. If you leave a comment and and you're asking me questions, I will most likely comment back on it. I don't always get notifications, but I do go back and look at the comments of my videos. Actually, my biggest video right now is the one that I did, which is an expose on what happened to Corey Mason, the trans youth icon who had eventually ended up doing porn and OnlyFans. Because they went from being this childhood darling of the trans movement who wrote a children's book that's still being divvied out, and then they went on to porn. That one's got almost 15,000 views. It's actually got more than my Rittenhouse documentary has, I think. And it just keeps getting more. I don't know what I did to the algorithm to get that one to be seen, because I'm sure it wasn't very popular with the people who run it. But in any case, thanks a lot, guys. Hopefully I'll find something to stream about tomorrow. So don't forget to reach out to me, and if you can, I'd be happy to talk to you guys on Discord or on email or on Twitter. Reach out to me on Twitter. I do answer my Twitter DMs and stuff like that.